UFC Fight Night, Song versus Cejudo, full card recap and breakdown, boys. It was a pretty good fight night. Prelims were absolute fire. Literally the definition of the reason you don't want to miss prelims, man. Prelims are fire. They can be fire. The entirety of the first prelims, man. The entirety of the prelims ended in finishes. An insane prelim, like from start to bottom. Crazy finishes, nice knockouts, nice submissions, man. Just nonstop action in the prelims. Main card was so, ended. Main event ended in kind of a weird way, but we will dive right in and get into all those details, man. We will start it off with the prelim opener of Modestas Bukauskas versus Rafael Sequeira. Man, I'm not gonna lie. I had Rafael Sequeira, man. I thought he'd be better on the feet. I thought he would have the power on the feet. I thought he'd be more defensively sound, land the bigger shots. And Modestas Bukauskas can be a bit chinny, man. But Bukauskas came out, man, throwing hands, backed Sequeira up against the cage, man. The thing is with Sequeira, I'm gonna be honest, his defense is really not great. It's really not great. He's not defensively sound. When he's up against the cage, he's super vulnerable, super weak. And Modestas just took advantage of that so perfectly. Knocked out Rafael Sequeira in the first round, bro. Like in the first few minutes, like it was a nasty knockout too. He was raining down punches on Sequeira, connected with a couple hooks, left hook, right hook, left hook. You could just see Sequeira was already out on his feet, and one final hook just smashed him and dropped Sequeira down to the ground, completely flattened him. I mean, it just crumbled him down to the mat. He was in a crouched fetal position, man, and he was unconscious. So get Rafael Sequeira out of the UFC. He is not UFC ready, man. I thought the Ibo Aslan fight versus Rafael Sequeira, I thought Rafael Sequeira just didn't really get a chance to prove if he was UFC ready or not. He is definitely not UFC ready. We just saw that against a guy, Modestas Bukauskas, who can be chinny, but Bukauskas comes away with a beautiful knockout win, man. Very nice way to start off the prelim and have the prelim opener, man. Good win by Modestas Bukauskas. We'll see what he can do at light heavyweight. We move on to the next fight, Nursultan Ruziboev versus Eric Mikaniko, man. This was expected. Ruziboev gets the TKO in round 2. I thought it would have finished in round 1, but Mikaniko didn't do too bad. His defense was okay, He did get cracked with some shots. Ruziboev's an absolute sniper. When you don't take him to the ground and you don't expose him on the ground like Buckley did, if you don't take down Ruziboev, you're gonna have a real problem. Fighting Eric Mikaniko, Eric tried to land shots of his own, but it was just clear that Ruziboev had kind of a force on the feet, and he was definitely landing the bigger shots. And he connected with a nice straight, I believe it was straight right down the pipe. Stunned Eric. Eric was wobbly a little bit, got him up against the fence. Ruziboev just started landing shots after shots after shots, dropped Eric down. Eric got back up. The ref gave him some chances. I saw some people saying that this was an early stoppage, but people genuinely want to see somebody die in the octagon. It doesn't make sense. It was a good stoppage, man. Ruziboev had him up against the fence, was dropping him down. The ref gave him chances, gave Eric chances, but Nursultan Ruziboev comes away with the TKO, man. Nice finish on 10 days notice, man. There's a lot of last minute fights on this card. Great win by Ruziboev. Obviously Eric Mikaniko was not in the UFC yet. That was his first fight. Not bad by him, but Ruziboev is very good, man. His striking is clean, it's crisp, and he's a very dangerous finisher. So nice KO by Nursultan Ruziboev, man. We move on to the next fight. We had Nikolai Veretinnikov versus Austin Vanderford, man. I did not know Vanderford was married to Paige Van Zandt, or Paige Van Zandt was her boyfriend, or her girlfriend. No, I'm messing this all up. I didn't realize that Austin Vanderford's girlfriend was Paige Van Zandt, or his wife was Paige Van Zandt. That's crazy work, man. But Vanderford, dominant performance, straight dominant performance. Nikolai, not bad on the feet. Beginning of the first round, it was pretty close, but the second Vanderford got Nikolai to the ground, man. It was obvious. There was an obvious difference. Nikolai couldn't defend himself, didn't even bother to try to get back up. Vanderford had positions where he had a couple submission attempts, landed beautiful ground and pound, finished the first round with dominant ground and pound, moved into the second round. He had his game plan perfectly played out, man. Austin got him to the ground, dropped him, brought him to the ground. Took him down to the ground and just started landing nasty ground and pound, started landing super nice ground and pound. And it was obvious that the fight was over. Finished Nikolai Veretinnikov on the ground with some ground and pound. But Nikolai was mad, man. After Austin got up, Nikolai went over and pushed him. He ran over, pushed him, tried to start something. Austin just flipped them off. That was jokes. I'm not going to lie. He flipped them off. Good win by Austin Vanderford. He's in the UFC now. Looks pretty good, man. He's good on the ground. Very nice ground and pound. Good wrestling. So we'll see what he can do. This was at a catch weight, because this was a super short notice fight. I think this was like a few days short notice, like a couple days short notice. They were trying to add some more fights to this card. Good fight, though, man. Good fight. Very dominant performance by Austin Vanderford. We'll see what he can do. Nice TKO. We move on to the next fight. Boys, this is fight of the night by far. This is finish of the night by far. Ricky Simone. I picked Ricky Simone, man. Screw Javid Basharat, man. Screw Javid Basharat. A lot of people are picking Basharat, man. But he got exposed. He got exposed by Ayman Zahabi on the feet. His boxing exposed him. And Ricky Simone's boxing, he's very, very crisp. Very crisp. And it was proven in this fight, man. Early at the beginning of the fight, Javid Basharat's got nice kicks. He was throwing kicks, throwing nice straight shots, but Ricky Simone was slowly creeping up on Javid, and he was landing some nice shots of his own. And in the pocket, Ricky Simone is very dangerous. He got in close with Javid Basharat, landed some nice shots, but then there was a split second where Basharat was at range. Ricky Simone closed the distance with a left cross and landed that beautiful right hook over the top that we have seen. It is the Kamaru Usman versus Masvidal KO. It is the freaking, what's his name? Petrino, the Jacoby versus Petrino KO. This is exactly what that was, but at bantamweight with a very dangerous guy in Ricky Simone. Beautiful TKO. Beautiful TKO. Could be potentially knockout of the year, man. Had Javid Basharat completely unconscious. Unconscious for minutes, man. Minutes. He was laying on the canvas, staring at the sky. Completely out. Completely out. Disgusting knockout by Ricky Simone. Amazing power. Amazing accuracy, man. Beautiful shot, man. Perfect. Back into the win column for Ricky Simone. Beautiful knockout. He needed this win. I thought him as a 3-1 dog was crazy work. I know he was coming off of a few losses, but beautiful win to get him back in the win column. Nice knockout, man. This is a performance bonus of the night if I've ever seen one. But we move on to the next fight. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Nick Klein. This was surprisingly closer than the odds suggested and then people suggested, man. Nick Klein versus Abdul Malik, starting round, it was quite close. They were both just landing some shots at range. Nobody was rushing in. Abdul didn't go to rush in and try to get into a situation that wasn't necessary. He was trying to pick his shots wisely. Nick Klein ended up finding Abdul's chin beautifully, landed a perfect spinning back fist, man. Landed it perfectly on Mansour Abdul Malik's face, man. Completely stunned him, dropped him to the ground. He got back up. Nick Klein did not go in with the hands. The only thing that confused me in this moment was Nick Klein dropped him bad. He knew that he had chinned him really bad. He didn't knock him out, but he chinned him. Abdul Malik was on the ground. He was trying to recover. Instead of Nick Klein going for finishing kill shots, he went for the takedown, man. And I think that's where his mistake was. Nick Klein is very good on the ground, very good wrestling, very good submission game, but he wasn't able to impose that too heavily on Mansour Abdul Malik. And when he landed a nice kill shot, instead of trying to finish it, he tried to go for a takedown, which just wasn't the way to go. Mansour survived that first round, came back in the second round, had a nasty push on Nick Klein. He kind of grabbed his leg and his face and shoved him to the ground, dropped him on the ground by just pushing him, and then started landing nasty ground and pound and nasty strikes up against the cage and finished him with a standing TKO. It was a nice win by Mansour Abdul Malik. He was disappointed in his win because he did struggle to injure Nick Klein. In the first round, he got injured bad. He got dropped. So Mansour said he's got stuff to improve on. Still looked good, though. He does have to improve on his wrestling and on his defense, but good win by Mansour Abdul Malik. That was another TKO, boys. This is just for your information. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. That's 5 TKOs in a row in the prelims, man. Non-stop action. And then we moved on to the next fight. Andre Fili versus Melkazil Costa, man. This was a good fight, too. I thought Andre Fili would have a solid chance, but I did think that Costa's ground game would be the difference factor here. This would be the differentiating factor here. And I knew that Costa would be able to find that neck of Fili and potentially lock up a choke, which is exactly what he did in round 1. Andre Fili, man, versus Costa at the beginning of the round, they were both exchanging some shots, some kicks, some nice kicks. Costa's a southpaw, so he had to watch out for the Fili kicks that were very close to his head, landed a couple, but didn't stun him very hard. Costa was throwing kicks of his own, kind of back and forth on the feet, and Fili made a huge mistake by shooting a takedown on the BJJ guy of Melkazil Costa, who genuinely doesn't really shoot many takedowns. He wants to keep it on the feet. He wasn't trying to force a submission, but Fili shot a takedown on him. Big mistake. Costa got his arm over Fili's head. Fili was popped out. He was on top of Costa. Costa was able to wrap his arm over Fili and lock up a guillotine. Very nice guillotine by Costa. Fili gave it up pretty easy, and Costa submitted Andre Fili at the end of round 1, man. At 4 minutes and 30 minutes into round 1. Nice win by Melkazil Costa. I thought Philly made a terrible decision in that moment, but I did call that Costa would have a nice chance of finding a submission against Philly, who is kind of open on the ground and just made a bad mistake. So good win by Costa, though. Nice submission. He's on a little win streak now. We move on. Next fight, Ion Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. I don't think a single person could have predicted what happened in this fight. I think everybody in the MMA community, everybody in the UFC community, man, was like, Ibo Aslan's either going to knock out Cutelaba or Cutelaba's either going to knock out Aslan. I'm the one who said, man, I said, Ion Cutelaba, you cannot predict this fight. You do not know what he's going to do. When was the last time he had a submission? I think it was 10 years ago. They were saying 10 years ago was the last time Cutelaba had a submission. Good win by him, man. Fraud checks Ibo Aslan, the Turkish guy, man. Fraud checks him. Ibo Aslan was throwing big shots at the beginning of the round. So was Cutelaba, but Ibo Aslan was landing on Cutelaba, and Cutelaba made the right decision, made the right adjustment, man, to switch up his game plan and figure out a different way because he realized he wasn't going to win on the feet. Ibo had a lot of power. He has a lot of power, and Cutelaba realized, I'm going to take this to the ground. I'm going to get that look for that choke, and that's exactly what he did. He got top position on Ibo Aslan, kept dragging him to the mat, got him down finally, got on top of him, was landing some shots on the ground, and was searching for that submission. Got a nice triangle submission, man. A nice squeeze right around Ibo Aslan, and Aslan was not able to stop, that submission attempt, and Cutelaba was able to take him out nice and good. Ibo Aslan tapped, fair tap. It was a very tight squeeze. Did not expect Cutelaba to get a submission, but good win by Ion Cutelaba, man. That's a 2-fight win streak for him. He's still here, man. He's still here. He wants to fight anybody. He will fight anybody, and he's still dangerous at light heavyweight. But we move on to the main card. We got Alonzo Menifield versus Julius Walker to start off the main card. Man, this fight, I don't even know what to call this fight because this fight was just literally the definition of, like, this should have ended in round one. It should have ended in round one. I don't know how else to say this. Both guys were gassed out after the first round. Gassed out when I say gassed out, okay? Julius Walker never trained MMA, never trained wrestling, striking, BJJ, anything really, man. Barely any. He's got barely any experience. 6-0 in his career. Understandably so, he's going to get tired after round one. And that's when Alonzo Menifield should be taking over. But the difference was that both guys were tired after round one. Alonzo Menifield, the number 15 ranked light heavyweight, was gassed out after round one, man. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. I'm sorry. I want to praise Alonzo Menifield for getting back in the win column, but the win was super sloppy. It was super sloppy. It was very slow, and it was almost not even really deserved, man. I'm sorry, but if I'm cutting somebody at light heavyweight, I'm cutting Alonzo Menifield, man. I'm just sorry, but he barely beat a not even UFC fighter ready, not even a UFC level ready fighter in Julius Walker, who plays basketball, man. He plays basketball, and he's 6-0. Most people don't even know he does MMA. All right, so it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It was a very close fight. Both guys were trading shots nonstop. Julius Walker had the better of Alonzo Menifield in the beginning of the rounds. There was a lot of clinch work, a lot of knees up the middle. Julius Walker was holding them up against the fence, landing nice elbows and stuff. But it was round three that really kind of defined it as a Menifield win. Round one, I gave to Julius Walker. Round two, I gave to Menifield. And then round three, I also gave to Menifield. But it was very close. Very, very close stuff, man. The striking numbers were really close. Menifield was landing more up top, but Julius Walker was nice body damage, nice leg kicks. If Julius Walker had a better gas tank, bit more defensively sound, had a better technique as well. His technique it's just clear that Julius Walker doesn't have too much training in MMA. If he was well trained, had good cardio, I think he would have won this fight without a doubt. So that just shows kind of how weak the bottom of light heavyweight is with Alonzo Menifield at number 15, man. I think somebody else is going to come fight Menifield next and take him out and take that spot if he is still on the roster. But not a bad fight, man. But it was a split decision win for Alonzo Menifield. We move on to the next fight. We had Jean Silva versus Melsik Bagdasaryan, man. Jean Silva is an absolute prospect at featherweight. Absolute prospect. Beautiful win by him over Melsik Bagdasaryan. Beautiful KO, man. It just took him one shot. One shot, and Melsik was on the ground. Literally did not know where he was. I mean, Jean Silva's power at featherweight is nasty. We saw him at lightweight. He had an insane amount of power against a tough guy in Drew Dober. So just Melsik didn't really have a chance. Tried to get his kickboxing going. Was kind of scared to really initiate shots against Jean Silva. Silva kept leading him on. Kept putting out his hand for handshakes. He's just kind of funny the way he does that. When there's an exchange, he puts his hand out, makes sure the other fighter's chilling. You know, it's all love with Jean Silva, but when it gets serious, he's got power. He landed a nice left hook or a left shot and left. Yeah, no, it was left hook and a right shot down the pipe. Dropped Melsik Bagdasaryan. Very stiff shot. Very stiff right hand, man. Dropped Melsik Bagdasaryan. Jean Silva points at him, points at the ref, is like, yo, this fight's over, right? You didn't want to do more damage. Ref didn't stop the fight. Jean Silva goes down, lands nasty ground and pounds, beautiful elbows to the body, and the ref ends the fight, man. Amazing win by Jean Silva. Super quick finish. He tried to feel it out for the first round, said he was going to get the job done in the second, didn't even need the second round, got it done in the first round. Beautiful win by Jean Silva. And man, that's 4 knockouts in a row for Jean Silva. Had a beautiful call out at the end of the fight. He called out Bryce freaking Mitchell, man. We wanted to feed Bryce Mitchell to freaking Josh Emmett again, man. We wanted him to get KO'd by Emmett again. But hey, let's just feed him to Jean Silva, who's on a 4-fight knockout win streak and has just as much power as Emmett to just absolutely flatline Bryce Mitchell after the shit he pulled on his podcast, man. I think it's a great matchup. I think Jean Silva is ready for the rankings. He beats a lot of those top 15 guys, man. I see him beating a lot of those top 15 guys at featherweight. I mean, match him up against Bryce Mitchell. He's flatlining him. Without a doubt, he's flatlining Bryce Mitchell. So that's the fight to make for sure. Jean Silva, great call out, great win, beautiful knockout, and it's just easy work for him. Just easy work. We move on, though, to the next fight. Rob Font versus Jean Matsumoto. This was a good fight. This was a very good fight. Honestly, the end of round 3, very fun. Jean Matsumoto, even though he did lose, great prospect still, man. I think he will be in the rankings in the future. He's still super young. He's only 25 years old. Rob Font is 37. He proved himself as the vet, kept that number 9 spot at freaking bantamweight, man. Well deserved by him. Bantamweight, right? Oh no, they were at bantamweight, but it was a catchweight at 140. But Rob Font, nice win by him, man. Very close fight though, very close fight. I gave round 1 to Rob Font. I saw a lot of people saying that Jean Matsumoto got robbed, but I think it was close. I think I'm siding with Rob Font for sure. He did the more damage. If it's damage based counting and damage based judging, then you would side with Rob Font. His boxing very clean. Round 1, I gave that to Rob Font. Even though Jean Matsumoto got takedowns, Rob Font landed the better shots and definitely stunned Matsumoto in moments. Round 2, I gave that to Matsumoto. He got nice takedowns, landed ground and pound, but Rob Font cut him bad in round 2. Jean Matsumoto was gushing blood from the forehead, man. So it wasn't a good look. And then round 3, Rob Font pieced it together, was landing very nice shots on the feet. His jabs are beautiful. His hooks are beautiful. His straight boxing is very nice. Rob Font's boxing has always been nice. He did it in the Kyler Phillips fight. He proved that he can stuff the takedowns, get the boxing going, and just win off a decision based off that boxing. He can rely on that all the time. He did that in this fight. And Matsumoto, of course, is not the most experienced, so he struggled to defend against Rob Font. But that last minute, they were throwing hands. It was a very fun fight. Honestly, really, really fun fight. But good win by Rob Font. Nice decision. Jean Matsumoto, we will see him in the future. He will be in the rankings for sure eventually. We move on to the co-main event. Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. This was a good fight. Not a bad fight. Not at all. A lot of people thought this was kind of mid. Not the best fight, but Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. It was mostly on the ground. It was mostly a wrestling BJJ fight. It was fun. It was fun. Both guys have high level BJJ. Anytime they tried to get a submission on each other, they just knew right away to avoid that submission whenever their opponent was trying to lock up a submission. They have high levels of BJJ, so they just knew that it just wasn't going to happen. There wasn't going to be a finish in this fight. It wasn't happening. They both knew their game plan. They both knew how to defend those submission attempts. And it was a fun fight. There was a lot of reversals of positions. Anthony Hernandez got the better of Brendan Allen, had the better wrestling. Allen's very good on the ground, good BJJ, but his pure wrestling isn't very good. And Anthony Hernandez is an absolute dog. He's going to push the pace, get those shots, those takedowns, and get the takedowns on you and just hold you there. Look for submissions, look for ground and pound, exactly what he did. Brendan Allen had a few moments, but he was on the ground on his back for most of the fight, and he was in bad positions for most of the fight. So Anthony Hernandez gets the unanimous decision. Good win by him. He's now in the top 10. Now in the top 10, man. Fluffy's in the top 10, and he deserves a top 5 guy. He deserves a top 5 guy without a doubt. I'm excited to see him fight the top guys at middleweight. I think he'll do good against a lot of these guys because his cardio is amazing. His finishing is great. He can finish you anywhere. It can either be by submission. His guillotine's great. His rear naked choke's great. He's got power as well. He can knock you out. So Hernandez is very good everywhere. Also, his cardio is amazing. So we will see how it goes with Anthony Hernandez in the future. He's definitely a middleweight prospect without a doubt. We move on to the main event, though. We had Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. Weird finish at the end of this fight, man. It went the distance, but it only went 3 rounds. There was a technical kind of decision. It was a technical decision because Song Yadong double eye poked Henry Cejudo in the 3rd round. Not a great look. Cejudo's eyes were compromised for sure. He really couldn't see out of his left eye. It looked like he was bleeding at some point. So Song Yadong really badly eye poked Cejudo. Cejudo took the full 5 minutes of break, went back in, and then on the break of the 3rd round, he said, I can't see. And then Jason Herzog decided to bring it to a decision. So they went to the scorecards, and Song Yadong won the unanimous decision on all scorecards. They did give a couple rounds to Cejudo. Some of the judges gave a round to Cejudo, but it was a unanimous decision for Song Yadong. I thought it was a close fight, honestly. Round 1, I gave to Cejudo. He kind of landed the better shots. Song Yadong starts a little bit slow, but round 2, round 3, Song Yadong picked it up, landed the better leg kicks, the better shots straight down the middle, was definitely stinging Cejudo in moments. So I think he would have won either way, but it is unfortunate to not see those last 2 rounds. I would have loved to see those last 2 rounds or see an actual finish. So it is unlucky. They did say that they will run it back. Song Yadong and Cejudo both agreed they want to run it back. I thought Cejudo would probably retire after this fight, but we'll see what happens, man. Good fight nonetheless, just unlucky, especially unlucky for the fans in attendance, man. It really sucks for them because they had no idea what was going on. But good win by Song Yadong, best win of his career so far. He's going to move up the rankings, be looking for a top 5 guy soon. So good win for Song Yadong, man. But that is the entire video. If you guys did enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop your comments down below what you guys thought about this fight night, if you guys enjoyed it or not. And I will see you boys in the next one. See you.